Hey, hello, and welcome to another year of Gumzo Open Source Podcast. And we are delighted to say that we tested the waters to see whether in 2024 we could come in with another podcast strictly dealing with cybersecurity. And I'm glad with the few episodes we used for our testing, we received immense support, and that proved to us that we can actually pivot from only doing open source, from only highlighting the open source tooling in information systems to look at looking at cybersecurity tooling in the open source podcast. But nonetheless, we did not want to confine ourselves to just doing tooling. We wanted to discuss concepts in cybersecurity. And to that end, we have decided that in 2025, we will intensify our cybersecurity podcast here at Gumzo Systems. And since we are majorly software developers who are looking at implementing best practice in regards to security, besides software engineering, we are looking at security in our applications. We have decided that it is critical that we also educate or share our knowledge in regards to cybersecurity. Remember, we build information systems that run on the cyberspace, basically web applications. And if you're not careful as a software engineer, then you are adding into the threat surface of an organization if your best practice does not involve security. So therefore, security needs to be ingrained in everything that someone in ICT does or someone in information system does. So we have decided to highlight what we know and what we are looking at so far as information, so far as cybersecurity is involved. And to that end, the Gumzo Cybersecurity podcast will focus on three key areas. Number one will be the basics. We will not run away from discussing the basics. We will never assume that every individual in our audience is an advanced cybersecurity practitioner. So therefore, we will always have segments where we discuss the basics of cybersecurity. Then we will discuss two more areas, the red team operations and concepts, blue team operations and concepts. So let me explain a little bit of what we mean by red team. So we in our previous episodes we had discussed the teams that work in cybersecurity, and red team being one of the teams, it is involved in offensive end of cybersecurity. So these are the guys who will be involved in activities like penetration testing. These are the guys who will be looking at the vulnerabilities that you have, or vulnerability assessment in an organization. So they are concerned primarily with the offensive end of cybersecurity. Therefore, the red team. And in discussing issues relating to the red team, we'll be looking at the networks. We'll be looking at web applications that we are very keen on. We'll be discussing about social engineering, wireless networks, mobile devices, and the cloud. Essentially, that will be the threat surface we'll be looking at. As I said, as a software engineer, most of the time you are adding into the threat surface of an organization or an enterprise when you deploy an application. So, therefore, we will also be discussing what we are doing in our organization and even showing implementation of various aspects of cybersecurity measures that we take cognizant of in regards to deployment of our software. Now, we will not just discuss the threat surface and the threat that can be the threats that can be met on information systems, but we will go ahead and discuss methodologies. So if you're doing a security audit, if you're doing a vulnerability assessment or a penetration testing activities or any other red team exercises or activities, what are the methodologies you need to be keen on? And we'll be looking at elements like OWASP, MITRE ATT&CK, cyber kill chain, ISSAF. We'll be looking at the diamond model. So those are the methodologies we'll be looking at under all episodes relating to the red team. And probably we will have on YouTube, we will have something like a playlist for all those videos to do with the basics, the red team, uh, concepts and discussions, and also finally we'll discuss the blue team concepts relating to the defensive end of cybersecurity. So if you have a blue team in your organization, then you know these are the guys who are involved in monitoring your network, seeing what kind of vulnerabilities are available and what vulnerabilities have been exploited and are present in your infrastructure. So basically, these are the guys who ensure that you're well secure from any cyber threat. But it is inevitable that a successful exploit will be meted on your infrastructure. So it is inevitable that you'll be exploited, you'll be penetrated. So once you're attacked, on the aftermath, once you realize that you have been attacked or you have succumbed to a cyber attack, then what happens? So there's another concept that is called digital forensics and incident response. So we'll also be looking at that. So that is reactionary. How you behave after you have been attacked. Yeah, you want to know what happened, what led to that attack. Yeah, what footprints have been left by the attackers. So to that end, we'll be discussing about evidence collection, investigating active devices. We'll be looking at evidence handling, analysis and reporting. We'll be looking at file systems. We'll be looking at elements of digital forensics, such as Windows registry, how to check your logs. So all these are elements that a blue team should be really keen on. And as I said, just to recap, in 2025, our cybersecurity podcast will focus on the cybersecurity basics. We will focus on the red team concepts. We will also discuss on the blue team concepts. So, in a nutshell, it will be a jam-packed 2025 so far as digital forensics, so far as cybersecurity is concerned for Gumzo cybersecurity podcast. We will still continue to look at our open source podcast, but that has been geared towards information systems that are open source and which an organization can leverage. You know, software can be very expensive, but if you learn how to work with open source, that you consume as well as give back to open source, then it's a win-win solution for situation for developers and the enterprise world. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was just an introduction of what you are supposed to look forward to in 2025 so far as Gumzo uh, podcasts are concerned. So, with that, without further ado, I welcome you to 2025, and we wish that we will learn from each other. We can engage. It is not a one way. There's something we will post, and a user will uh, chime in and say and give a different opinion, and we welcome that. So we look forward to a fruitful and beneficial engagement. in our content. We thank you for your support for 2024, and looking forward. I mean, the future is so bright. So, with that, let's meet on the first episode. I am Francis Mwangi from Gumzo Eboot Systems. Thank you for your support.